Well, you have every right, due to your unrelenting intuitive sensory overload, to be concerned about the direction of these United States. Of course, the only portion of them that seems remotely united these days is embedded in the daily lives of its citizens, and not anywhere within a 300-mile radius of Washington, D.C., or the District of Criminals. Out amongst the people, those of us not glued to a digital device 24/7, there is respect and humility for others' viewpoints, political leanings, constitutional concerns, etc. You know, the very principles that make up our Constitution, which is taken for granted just like everything else America has produced, from the brains, blood, sweat, and tears of a myriad of races, religions, and philosophies over its short history. But back in the District of Criminals, we are being led around by the nose, at maximum level, by an elite cocaine class of Studio 54 burnouts, hell-bent on pleasing each other and their foreign corporate masters in the hopes of keeping the disco ball spinning while the rest of the country burns. Congress is wading up to its neck in hypocrisy, an ongoing theater where those elected dole out the lie, claiming to stand up for the American people, yet having no concept as to what that really means. Who are these American people these congressional freaks speak of? And do they even realize how hollow and pathetic they appear to the rest of us? Would the American people be the veteran soldier who just returned from a monotonous tour in Afghanistan, only to discover that every right he or she signed up to protect has been corrupted by those elected to protect those rights? Or would the American people be the recently legalized citizen who paid their dues and grew to respect the uniqueness and precious implications to the human condition the American dream truly represents? And what of those freshman congressmen that have entered the gates of hell, only to gradually embrace what the elite Washington, D.C. power class doesn't think the American people realize, is that the bulk of their power is criminal, based on deceiving nearly 330 million Americans in order to secure the will of their foreign corporate masters. A handful of donors, as Lawrence Lessig deemed Lesterland, whereby, in the words of Lessig, the American political system is foundationally weakened by a corrupt campaign funding system, creating a dangerously unstable and inequitable design that could destroy our republic if we let it. I believe in this country. I believe in its Constitution, and I believe in the Founding Fathers' genius. But most of all, I believe in you, my fellow citizen. Wherever you stand politically, whether you possess a bleeding heart or a hard-worn fiscal strategy, our passions are equally fueled by this great experiment. I simply ask that, regardless of our differences, you take a moment of clarity and focus on the cold, hard truth that without our union, we are no longer operating as the children of Providence we once were.
Perhaps the most famous invasion in the history of the world, D-Day. 73,000 American troops landed in the D-Day invasion. We have 76,103, according to my numbers, apprehensions along our southern border last month.
But the illicit narcotics are coming primarily still through the ports of entry.
That's where our seizures are made.
The numbers of border crossings are still at a historic low compared to other times in our nation's history.
No, Senator, they're not. We're on pace for over 700,000 crossings this year. That's closer to historic highs than historic lows.
Would you agree that we as a Congress have not given you the tools that you and your officers need to prevent drugs from illegally entering a country across our southwest border?
Sir, we need a barrier. We cannot take operational control of the border without it.
Judgment in your professional experience, do walls work?
Unquestionably.
So if I understand it correctly, San Diego, the wall there was built in 1992. Illegal traffic dropped 88% over 18 years and 95% over 23 years. We saw the same experience in El Paso. In El Paso, the wall was built in 1993. Illegal traffic dropped 72% over 1 year and 95% over 22 years. Same thing in Tucson. Wall built in 2000, illegal traffic dropped 90% over 15 years. Yuma, the wall was built in 2005, illegal traffic dropped 95% over 4 years. Are those figures accurate?
Yes, Senator.
And does that reflect your professional experience that putting a physical barrier can have a significant impact decreasing and stopping illegal immigration?
Yes.
Our do-nothing Congress put on yet another spectacle of two sides butting heads over the undeniable crisis on the southern border.
For the record, Madam Secretary, are we still using cages for children?
Sir, we don't use cages for children. In the border facilities that you've been to, they were not made to detain children. As the children are processed through, they are in subparts of those facilities.
The Democrats continued to spin their broken record, pulling at the assumed heartstrings of those outraged by the children of illegal immigrants being locked up and separated, to politicize, or more appropriately, weaponize their Borg-like zeal to criticize the executive office and ultimately the intelligence of the American people.
You let kids be separated without tracking them. Do you know how outrageous that is, Madam Secretary? You have no feeling, no compassion, no empathy here.
A policy that separates babies from their mothers, places them in cages. I was at the border. I saw those babies locked up on top of each other. We would not treat animals. The Humane Society wouldn't allow it, the way those babies were treated.
Because first of all, they're not cages, all right? They're chain link dividers, go all the way up to high ceiling, that separate children from unrelated adults. If we didn't do that back in 2014 and 15 when they were built, then if the first child gets molested by an unrelated adult, what happens? Now that we're under investigation for that.
They were built in 2014 and 15. Trump wasn't president then.
Barack Obama was president. I was there when they were built.
Those who believe that we already have too many people of color in this country. And these, one of whom happens to be the President of the United States of America, would institute policies that will prevent people of color from coming to this country. White babies would not be treated the way these babies of color are being treated, Madam Secretary.
It was a policy by this administration that only ended when there were pictures of little kids in cages that had been ripped away from their parents.
As I recall, the images that circulated around the internet were actually from the Obama administration. They later found out that the picture that circulated the internet of a child in a cage came from the time frame when it was the Obama administration.
Oddly enough, no one mentioned the ongoing rape of hundreds of American children by illegal aliens, but plenty of other horrors were brought to the fore by the opposition.
She's from Mexico. She's about 18 years old. She was taken across the border, kidnapped about 5 years ago. On the third attempt, because they were turned back twice by Border Patrol, on the third attempt they made it through, and she was brought to New York City where she was raped approximately 30 times a day for 5 years. I don't know why nobody talks about that kind of stuff.
If they have to give every female child who's 10 years of age and over a pregnancy test, to me, that is just devastating.
Have there been instances in which people from other countries have paid smugglers a large sum of money to help them get across? They fly to Mexico or in one way or another travel to Mexico from another country. Arrive at the U.S.-Mexico border and they're then paired with a child, not their own, a child they've never met and to whom they have no relation at the border in order to manipulate our asylum system.
Yes, within those 1,700 fraudulent claims that I briefed in the last 10 months, there were cases like that included. The sexual assault problem is just terrifying. I mean, the Doctors Without Borders clinics in Mexico, 30% of the women that come into those clinics have been sexually assaulted.
You said 30%.
Yes. I mean, that's a devastating number. We have women report every day. Last week, we had a woman in Rio Grande Valley report that the smuggler sexually assaulted her on the riverbank as they arrived in the U.S.
Human coyotes give our animal friends a bad name. The smugglers convinced the mother that it was easier to move the pair separately. They separated the child from their parents. They left a 3-year-old child on the banks of the Rio Grande. It was Border Patrol agents who rescued that child. It's Border Patrol agents who rescue thousands of people from smuggling and trafficking routes every year.
We're responsible for the loss of life.
The growing question is, how does the left describe a crisis? Because the billions of taxpayer dollars spent on illegals, the unnecessary traffic deaths and murders of Americans by illegals, the opioid epidemic fueled by the constant movement of illegal aliens, and the rape of American children by illegals doesn't seem to be a problem to the Democrats whatsoever.
How long have we had this problem? Not the immediate crisis, but of women being raped and children coming here sick and drugs being smuggled and coyotes making billions and drugs coming across. I mean, how long has this been going on?
For decades, obviously.
John Bowne reporting. Well, this is what hubris looks like. Apple head honcho Tim Cook recently tweeted, "We must keep fighting for the kind of world we want to live in. On this hashtag Data Privacy Day, let us all insist on action and reform for vital privacy protections. The dangers are real, and the consequences are too important." They're real, all right, thanks to Tim Cook and Apple. Tim Cook's ridiculous tweet unraveled as a 14-year-old discovered a spy glitch on Apple's FaceTime app. As the Apple Insider reported, reports of a massive FaceTime flaw surfaced on Twitter. Present in current versions of iOS, the bug enables a FaceTime caller to eavesdrop on a recipient device's audio, even if that person does not answer. Camera access is also granted if the recipient interacts with hardware buttons on their iPhone. For example, pressing the power button to decline the call. Perhaps most troubling was the relative ease at which the bug is exploited. A nefarious party simply calls another FaceTime user and manually adds the originating number to the call as a third party. Once added, audio from the recipient's device begins streaming without an indication that a call is live. As news of this glitch spread, Apple's earnings this quarter didn't meet expectations. The Motley Fool reported Huawei has displaced Apple as the second largest smartphone company globally, thanks to its strategy of offering feature-packed premium phones at lower price points when compared to Apple's lineup. Of course, Huawei has its own privacy issues. And if that wasn't enough to prove that privacy is dead on arrival, TechCrunch reports, desperate for data on its competitors, Facebook has been secretly paying people to install a Facebook Research VPN that lets the company suck in all of a user's phone and web activity. Meanwhile, as Reuters reported, a team of former U.S. government intelligence operatives working for the United Arab Emirates hacked into the iPhones of activists, diplomats, and rival foreign leaders with the help of a sophisticated spying tool called Karma, in a campaign that shows how potent cyber weapons are proliferating beyond the world's superpowers and into the hands of smaller nations. Tim Cook's high and mighty Twitter plea for privacy protection is a complete joke.
And as we showed this year, we won't give a platform to violent conspiracy theorists on the App Store.
However, Apple is facing lawsuits from concerned citizens, as Apple Insider reported. According to court documents, Larry Williams II said an intrusion occurred as he was taking sworn testimony during a client deposition. It is presumed that Williams received a call as he conducted a deposition via FaceTime. But it appears that as the Department of Justice in Capitol Hill delivers swift penalties to China's invasion of privacy.
First, I am announcing that a grand jury in Seattle has returned an indictment that alleges 10 federal crimes by 2 affiliates of telecommunications corporation Huawei Technologies. According to the indictment, in 2012, Huawei began a concerted effort to steal information about a robot that T-Mobile used to test mobile phones. In an effort to build their own robot, Huawei's engineers allegedly violated confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements with T-Mobile by secretly taking photos of the robot, measuring it, and even stealing it.
Silicon Valley continues to violate not only our First Amendment rights, but our basic right to privacy with little repercussions other than David versus Goliath level lawsuits. Furthermore, this shows that totalitarianism isn't thousands of miles away in Asia. It's right here in the good old United States of America. John Bowne reporting. Benjamin Franklin prescribed this for our nation back in 1778, saying, "Whereas true religion and good morals are the only solid foundations of public liberty and happiness, it is hereby earnestly recommended to the several states to take the most effectual measures for the encouragement thereof." Today we are plagued by a volatile Marxist generation rejecting the Founding Fathers' quest for individual liberty. The idiocy of anti-morality has flared up as a generation of cowards embrace a culture of selfishness that mocks the selflessness of previous American generations while murdering future generations.
So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
Do you regret what you said yesterday or the way you said it?
No, I don't. And Alan, I appreciate the question. I'm a physician.
In the midst of this, Northam's racist past is used against not just him, but all of us. A media circus created to distract from the original evil post-birth abortion controversy, a topic the mainstream media won't fully address.
I take credit for recognizing that this was a horrific photo that was on my page with my name, Ralph Northam, above. I dressed up in a what's his name? The singer? Michael Jackson, excuse me. That's why I had Pam with me. I had the shoes, I had a glove, and I used just a little bit of shoe polish to put on my cheeks.
On January 22nd, New York Governor Cuomo signed the Reproductive Health Care Act into law, which expanded the circumstances under which a woman can legally obtain an abortion, including up until the moment of birth. And on January 28th, the Virginia legislature introduced a similar bill. The mainstream media will simply not address the established aborted baby market, one that Planned Parenthood, which is heavily supported by George Soros, has been actively involved in, as two of Planned Parenthood's business partners, Da Vinci Biosciences and DV Biologics, have admitted guilt in a $7.8 million settlement with the Orange County District Attorney for selling aborted baby body parts from Planned Parenthood of Orange and San Bernardino counties for profit in violation of federal and California law, as reported by the Center for Medical Progress.
Aborted babies' bodies are a very valuable commodity in today's America. Research institutions, elite universities, medical centers pay a lot of money for baby parts. I find myself in complete shock saying that on television in America in 2019, but you can buy the arms and legs and skin of babies today.
While Lucian Greaves of the Satanic Temple is given a soapbox after being the subject of a recent Hollywood documentary praising him.
Well, the first Satanic Temple action that I heard of was definitely the Baphomet campaign in Oklahoma, when they were fundraising to make this 8.5-foot tall bronze, goat-headed deity called Baphomet, and and I thought it was brilliant. Like many people who saw that story and those headlines and that campaign, was really made me smile. It made me think. And I thought it was really smart.
Greaves is preaching an irrational fear of Vice President Pence to a generation of swine. Greaves said, "Trump is too stupid to predict. The guy has no concept of his own limitations. The thing that makes me most uncomfortable with Trump is the fact that he has no vision. Mike Pence really scares me," Greaves told the Daily Beast. Pence has a clear theocratic vision for the United States.
How do those themes around Satan and Satanism resonate right now?
For me, it seems kind of obvious that there's been a complete reversal in the roles of who's ostensibly the good guys and who are the bad guys. Right now, we have evangelical nationalists pushing a theocratic agenda in the United States and making great headway to take away people's reproductive rights.
The United States is dangerously demoralized when a governor attempts to legalize the murder of living, breathing citizens and the public is manipulated to support the concerns of the Satanic Temple. There's no other way but up. John Bowne reporting. Pete Buttigieg.
Resentment and nostalgia is not the formula for the middle of the country. I can't wait to share that with the rest of America.
Julian Castro.
We need universal health care so that everybody can have it.
Tulsi Gabbard.
My record in Congress over the last 6 years reflects what is in my heart. A strong and ongoing commitment to fighting for LGBTQ rights.
Cory Booker.
And I understand that the penalty comes with potential ousting from the Senate. And if Senator Cornyn believes that I violated Senate rules, I openly invite and accept the consequences of my team releasing that email right now. And I'm releasing it to expose that, number one, the emails that are being withheld from the public have nothing to do with national security. Now, I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment.
Elizabeth Warren.
If the question is, can we make the Affordable Care Act better, and we can find some Republican colleagues to do that, absolutely. We should do what we can to improve it.
Kirsten Gillibrand.
The key issues of her platform are going to make healthcare more equitable as well as education. She says she also wants to fight institutional racism.
The NRA has a chokehold on Congress. The NRA is concerned only with gun sales. It is literally all about money. It is all about greed. It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment.
Kamala Harris.
People in power are trying to convince us that the villain in our American story is each other. But that is not our story. That is not who we are. That is not our America.
These are the names in the Democratic field for president, and they are all under the impression that they are what's right for America, after their party rode a wave of fake news, bullying the American people and its president, and backing policies of big government handouts. Do any of them have the support they claim to have? Current pseudo-frontrunner Democrat Senator Kamala Harris's presidential announcement received less than 100 retweets, despite her having a massive following of 2.2 million Twitter users.
From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land.
Of course, all of them will have to contend with the shadow of this man. And I'm not just talking about President Trump.
They called me Coon Man. My belief that I did not wear that costume or attend that party stems in part from my clear memory of other mistakes I made in the same period of my life. That same year, I did participate in a dance contest in San Antonio, in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume. I look back now and regret that I did not understand the harmful legacy of an action like that. It is because my memory of that episode is so vivid that I truly do not believe I am in the picture in my yearbook.
While outlier Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz is already facing the Democratic mob for potentially dividing the anti-Trump support.
I was a supporter and am a supporter of the Affordable Care Act, which I think can be improved and enhanced so that the premiums come down for families.
Healthcare is a human right!
So
Healthcare is a human right! Healthcare is a human right!
In any event,
healthcare is a human right!
Perhaps creepy Uncle Joe Biden or even national security threat numero uno Hillary Clinton will ride into the rescue on their platforms of sheer bullshit. But it's still too early to tell. John Bowne reporting. You can always find us at dailynewscollective.com, at blahblahshow.com, on YouTube at JonBownePolitix, on gab.ai at JonBownePolitix, and Twitter at NewsBound.